Hey guys, it's Puneet here from Chord. Over the years, I have tried to cover a lot of Indian songs with interesting chords and chord progressions, and I've ended up using a lot of what are known as jazz chords or extended chords. And a lot of you guys have reached out to me asking for guidance on Instagram, on Facebook, as well as in my YouTube comments as to how I apply this over an actual song, especially over Indian songs, how it works. So I've decided to create this very simple step-by-step 3-part masterclass, of which this is going to be part 1. Part 1 is going to be free for YouTube. Parts 2 and 3 are available on my website for a very affordable one-time cost, and the link has been provided in the description box below this video, so you can check it out. The entire masterclass comes with PDFs as well as chord charts, and you will cover a lot of interesting concepts such as diatonic harmony, which we are going to look at in part 1. In part 2, we'll be covering non-diatonic harmony such as secondary dominants, diminished chords, tritone substitution, modal interchange. And in part 3, we'll be looking at how to reharmonize a song in a minor key. And I also have a complete library of chord shapes for all the commonly used type of chords, like the major family of chords, the minor family, dominant family, diminished chords, augmented chords, you name it. You have all the entire panel of chords as well for your reference. So I've worked really hard on this course and put in a lot of time and effort. So guys, please do check it out if you are interested in this area, and it will really help support the channel as well. So I've chosen this song Jana Gana Mana in the key of C major, as it's a very beautiful but simple melody and it has a lot of depth to it. And we can create a lot of interesting chord progressions over it as well. So without any further ado, let's dive straight into it. First, there will be a small section on the relevant music theory, and then I will be doing a practical demonstration by actually applying the chords over the melody and discussing how I do it. The first step in creating jazz chord progressions is to use only the diatonic chords. First, we'll be discussing some relevant theory for this, and then I will be actually applying it to our music piece. So what does the word diatonic mean? Diatonic means using only the notes of a particular scale. In this case, we have our piece in the C major scale. So we'll be using the notes of only the C major, that is the C, D, E, F, G, A and B. These are assigned scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 respectively. Now we need to create some chords from these notes. So starting from each note, we'll be creating a 3-note chord, which are also known as the triad chords. From the C, we'll skip the next letter, that is a D, and we go to the third, that is the E. So we have a C note followed by an E note. Similarly, we skip the F and we go to G, that is a C major chord, where the C is the root note, the E is a major third in context to the C, and the G is a perfect fifth, which gives us a C major triad, the root, major third and the perfect fifth. From the D, we'll use the same process and we get D being the root, F, which now is the minor third from the D note, and then we have the A note, which is the perfect fifth. So we get what is known as the D minor chord or the D minor triad. Similarly, from the E, we have the E minor triad, which has the notes E, G, B. The F has the F major triad, FAC, and G has the G major triad, GBD. The A has the A minor chord, A, C and E, and the B note gives us the B diminished triad, which is the B, D and F. So in the diminished triad, we have a flat fifth, we have a root, a minor third and a flattened fifth, which is the F note in context to the B. So these can be assigned Roman numerals, which is known as the Nashville numbering system. The 1, 4 and the 5 chord, since they are major chords, are given as the uppercase or the capital Roman numerals. The 2, 3 and the 6 chord are the minor chords, so they are given as the lowercase Roman numerals. And the 7 chord is a diminished triad. Sound wise, the major chords sound happy, as we all know, happy and bright. 2, 3 and 6 minor chords have a sad or melancholic sound, and the diminished chord has a tense sound. But triad chords are not commonly used in jazz. Here we use what are known as the 7th chords, which are formed by adding one more note to each triad. So starting from the C note, we'll be using the same process as we've used before, only we'll be adding one more stack at the end, which is the 7th note. So C, E, G was our basic triad, and then we skip the next letter after G, which is the A, and go to the one after that, which is the B. So we have a chord, 4-note chord, which has the note C, E, G with the addition of the B note. That is a major 7th interval. The B note is a major 7th interval in context to the C, and so this chord is called as a C major 7 chord. Similarly, the 4 chord F major, F, A, C, will also get an E note, which is the major 7th. So both of these, the 1 and the 4 chord, are the major 7th chords, and these have a happy, bright and elegant sound. The 2 chord, the D minor, which had the notes D, F, A, now gets a C note added to it. The C is a minor 7 or a flat 7th interval in context to the root D, and this gives us a beautiful D minor 7 chord, and this has again a very elegant and a slightly sad and melancholic sound. Similarly, the 3 chord E minor becomes an E minor 7 by adding the D note, and the 6 chord, the A minor, becomes an A minor 7 by adding the G note. So all the 3 minor chords, the minor triads 2, 3 and 6, now become minor 7th chords. Now an interesting thing is the 5th chord, the G, does not become a G major 7, but it becomes what is known as a G dominant 7, or we simply write it as G7 chord. So here we have the F note added to the G, B, D triad. This F note is not a major 7th interval, it is actually a minor 7th or a flat 7th interval in context to the G note. So it gives us a tense and a dark suspenseful sound, so it is known as a dominant chord. And lastly, coming to the diminished triad, we get the BDF, and on top of that we stack the A note, which is a 7th note, and it gives us the B minor 7 flat 5 chord, or also known as a B half diminished chord. So this has again a tense and a dark sound. The reason why the 5 and the 7 chords sound tense or dark is because these contain the tritone interval between the B and the F note. Now let us look at some commonly used shapes of these chords on the fretboard. Now let us look at some commonly used chord progressions in the jazz style using only the diatonic chords. The first type of chord progression is what is known as the ascending or the descending chord progression. So here you can see on your screen there is an example that has been written out. So here we have a starting chord, which is the 1 chord, the C major 7, which is going to the 2 chord, D minor 7, which is again ascending up to the 3 chord. So we have a sequential order of Nashville numbers, 1 chord going to the 2 chord going to the 3 chord. And from 3 we can descend back down to the 2 chord, that is the D minor 7 chord, and eventually we land on the 1 chord. So this is the first type of chord progression, which is known as ascending or descending type progression. This ascending or descending chord progression idea can also be applied starting from any other chord of the scale. So for example, if you start on the F major 7, you can go to the next chord, that is the G7 chord, that is an ascending chord progression. Or you can go down to the E minor 7 chord, which is the 3 chord. So the 4 chord can move to the 5 chord or a 3 chord, and similarly for all the other chords. This ascending or descending idea is used to create smooth bass lines as we are ascending or descending in a stepwise fashion. Now coming to the main method of creating chord progressions in the jazz way is by using functional harmony. Here each chord among the 7 diatonic chords is assigned a harmonic function, and we use certain rules to create chord progressions with these. So the first example of this is a G7 chord, which is a dominant chord resolving to the C major 7, which is known as a tonic chord. So this is known as a perfect cadence in classical music, the 5 chord resolving to the 1 chord, and it gives a very satisfying kind of resolution effect. So this is the first example, the 5 to 1. And here we can also use the substitute of G7, which is the B minor 7 flat 5, as these two chords have 3 common notes, the B, D and the F note. So we can use the 7 chord also here in place of the 5 dominant chord. Now the next step is that we add a subdominant chord before the dominant chord. So these are the D minor 7, which is the 2 chord, or the 4 chord, which is the F major 7. Either of these two chords can be placed before a G7 chord. Among these two options, that is the D minor 7 and the F major 7, using the 2 chord is a much more common choice in jazz. So we have what is known as a 2-5-1 chord progression, the D minor 7 going to the G7, and that ultimately resolves to the C major 7. There is a 2 chord going to the 5 chord going to the 1. That is a classic 2-5-1 chord progression in jazz. Now we can extend this chord progression even more by adding what is known as a mediant chord, that is the 6th chord, the A minor 7 chord. So we get what is known as a 1-6-2-5 chord progression, or a jazz turnaround. So here we start on the 1 chord, the C major 7. Then we go to our mediant, which is the A minor 7, followed by the 2-5-1 chord progression, D minor 7, G7 going to the C major 7. So this gives us a 1-6-2-5 resolving back to the 1. A common variation of this is to substitute the 1 chord with the 3 chord, which gives us a 3-6-2-5 turnaround. The reason again that we can do this is because E minor 7 and C major 7 chords have got 2 common notes, the E, G and the B note. That is the E minor triad is common. So here we can substitute the E minor 7 for the C major 7, and we get E minor 7 going to the A minor 7, D minor 7, G7 and resolving back to the C major 7. So we get a 3-6-2-5 chord progression. So overall we have 3 commonly used chord progressions with functional harmony. One is a 2-5-1, then we have a 1-6-2-5, and then we have a 3-6-2-5 chord progression. These chords can also be analyzed as movements in fifths, intervals of fifths. Now we can add even more jazz color to each of these 7 chords by including the higher extensions available. For example, for the C major 7 chord, we had the notes C, E, G, B. To this group, we can add the remaining notes of the C major scale. So the remaining notes are the D, F and the A note. So if we add only the D note, we get the C, E, G, B, D, a 5 note chord, which is known as a C major 9 chord. Similarly, we can add the A note here, which will give us a C major 13th chord, because the A is the 13th or the 6th interval, the major 6th interval in context of the C. We however will avoid putting the F note, which is the 11th note, because it clashes with the major 3rd, that is the E note. So for the 1 chord, we don't commonly use the 11th extension, we use only the 9th and the 13th. A common practice while actually playing these chords on the guitar is to drop the 5th interval, that is the G note. And the reason for this is that while the G note adds a lot of stability to the chord, it does not contribute to the quality or the character of the chord. So it's possible to drop this without changing the overall sound. It also makes gripping or fingering the chord much easier. So in most of these higher extended chords, the 5th note may be dropped. Similarly, on your screen, you can see the higher extensions available for each of the other chords. For the D minor, the commonly used options are the D minor 9 and the D minor 11. The 3 chord E minor 7, we usually don't use any higher extensions. For the 4 chord, again we have a F major 9 and F major 13, just like we had for the 1 chord. But here in addition, we have an major 7 sharp 11 chord, which has a sharp 11th note or the B note in context to the F, and that has a very jazzy sound. To the 5 chord, we can add the 9th, 11th and 13th. So that gives us a G9, a G7 or a G9 sus4 chord, and the G13 chord. So this G7 sus4 chord is where we play the 11th, that is the C note, and we drop the 3rd, that is the B note. So it becomes a sus chord. So we have in G7 sus4 we will have G, D, F, the root 5th and the 7th, and we have the 11th note, which is the C note. For the 6th chord again we can use the minor 9th and the minor 11th extension, and for the 7th chord B minus 7 flat 5, which is already a very tense sounding chord, we don't need to add any other higher extensions. In jazz we also use some add chords, which are the add 6 and the add 6/9 chords, which are commonly used. So for example, to create a C add 6 chord, we take the C major triad C, E, G, and on top of that, instead of adding the 7th, we add the 6th interval, which gives us a C add 6. And we can also add both the A as well as the D note, which is the 9th. So we get the C 6/9 chord, that is written as C 6/9. And this is a commonly used chord in jazz music. Similarly, for the 2 chord, we can use a D minor 6 or a D minor add 9 chord. The 3 chord, we don't have the 6th or the 9th available diatonically, because for the E, the 6th would be a C sharp and the 9th would be a F sharp note. Both of these notes are not found in the C major scale. For the 4 chord, similarly, we have the add 6 and the 6/9. 5 also the add 6 and the 6/9. And lastly, for the 6th chord, we have the A minor add 9 chord available. In the interest of time, I will not be going into the shapes of each of these higher extensions. I'll rather be providing a separate video for these. Now I'm going to reharmonize Jana Gana Mana in the key of C major, and 2 practices that I always follow whenever I'm working on any song is first to break it down into smaller sections, and second is to have a sheet of paper and a pen with me and write down all the changes. So this is section 1. First thing that I will do is to get a basic idea of the rhythm of the melody notes even before I find the melody. So this is Jana Gana Mana na 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 na. This is basically like an 8 note rhythm where we start with the pickup notes Jana Gana. So this is 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like that. This is the basic rhythm. The next step is to find the actual melody notes, and here what I try to do is I always get them on a single any one string that I want. So in this case I will be finding the melody note on string 2. You can do it also on string 1 and string 3 sometimes as well. So Jana Gana Mana na 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 na. So this is basically C, D, E, 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 E. We stay on E for a long time. Na 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 na. That is D, E, F. Now after this, once I've got the melody down, then I will try to determine where the chord changes should happen, and this is either by feel, you can do this, or by listening to, if you are transcribing something, then you can listen to the actual track and try to get where the chord changes are happening. So here, according to me, the chord changes should happen on Jana Gan on the E note. Jana Gana Mana. So 4 and 1 on the strong beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and then on the last one is on the 4. So I have, usually the chord changes will happen on the stronger beats. So here we have on the beats 1 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and like that it will land on the stronger beats. But sometimes, as on the 4th chord, it's landing on the off beat. Na na na. This is D. D is on the 3 and 4. So this F note is my landing point, which is on slightly on an off beat. So here I have to choose chords which have the notes E for the first 3 chords, and then for the last chord I have to choose a chord with the F note in it. So now let's see which options we have for this E note from our reference chart in the theory part that we have done earlier. So E note will be there in 4 chords in among diatonic chords, that is C major 7. Then you can have it with E minor 7 as well, F major 7, and the last one is the A minor 7. That is the 1, 3, 4 and the 6 chord. Now after we've done this, we also need to choose the correct voicing of the chord. What is voicing is basically the correct shape of the chord which will work best for that particular piece. So here what I found is that when you have the melody note, so here for example we are having E note, if you use this as the highest point in your chord grip, it sounds really good instead of playing any other voicing. So for example, on the first chord that I'm landing, I have the E note, so I can choose a C major 7 chord, and I can play a C major 7 as well over here, and this does not sound wrong, but this voicing works much better because we have this note ringing out in the chord, and this also reinforces the melody. So you have to choose the correct voicing also, where your melody note is at the highest point in the chord voicing. And now I will choose chords depending on the mood that I want. So if I want a bright sound or a happy sound, I will go for a major chord. If I want a slightly sadder sound, I will go for the minor chord. And if I want a more tense sound, I will go for a dominant chord. So these are my chord options depending on the mood of the song. And also I want to try to get this progression into the typical jazz style movements as we have discussed in functional harmony. So for the first option, I want to use a 1 chord. This is also a slightly brighter sound. Going to the 6th chord, that is the A minor 7. Then we go to the F major 7, which is a subdominant chord, so 4 chord. And then for the last note, F note, we have options will be the G7 chord, that is the 5 chord. And we have, so the G7 is this one. And for the 5 chord, we have the option B minor 7 flat 5, that is B half diminished chord. And we can also choose F major 7 here, but F major 7 and D minor 7 are not really dominant chords. I am looking for a more tense sound. So among tense sounds, I have only 2 options, the G7 and the B minor 7 flat 5. And here I am choosing again this voicing of B minor 7 flat 5 because here my highest note is the F note, which lies in this voicing, not in this one. Okay, so here again I have chosen the B minor 7 flat 5 as it's easier to grip. For the G7 I would have to stretch out like this, or I can take it on the first string. This is a slightly easier grip to hold. I can play a G7 over here like this, or this grip. So you can choose either of the 2 options, both work pretty well. So now let me play this with the melody, and this is also a very good practice, by the way, that when you're playing, when you're trying to transcribe something, you can arrange it in chord melody as well. That is, you're playing the melody along with the chords. So we have Jana, Gana, Ma, C major 7, Na, Na, A minor 7, then the 4, Nayak, Jaya, either G7 or B minor 7 flat 5. Now guys, I'm not very happy with my F major 7 chord because I want a typical jazz sound. So as I told you, 1, 6, 2, 5 using the 2 chord is much more common than using the 4 chord. So I want to fit this into the D minor 7, which is the 2 chord, instead of the F major 7. But in the melody note, so if you see your D minor 7 shapes that we have looked at earlier, there is no E note in them. So here what we can do instead is we can use a higher extension of the D minor, which has the E note on top, and this is called as a D minor 9 chord. This is a really beautiful sounding chord, and it will work really well in this context because we are now into a 1, 6, 2, 5 chord progression. So we have Jana, Gana, Mana, Na, 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 Da, 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 B minor 7 flat 5. Then again we go back to Bharat E note, and then I have chosen, so this is a C major 7 because I am feeling something like a going back to the 1 chord, because we have 1, 6, 2 and then a dominant chord. So that will lead me back to the 1 chord, Bharat. Then I land on the D note. So here I have chosen a dominant chord, Bhagyaved. Then we have a Da, Ta. So that is B, D, C. So here my landing note is the C note. So Bharat Bhagyaved Da, like that. So I hope guys that you were able to follow this. Now let us listen to section 1 played along with the backing track. Now moving on to the next section, which has the lyrics Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha. Here I'll be using the exact same process that we've used in section 1. So the melody first is Punjab. So this is a G note. C, G, 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 F sharp, A, G. Then we have F, 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 E, D, F, E. So these are the melody notes. Here an interesting thing is that we have an F sharp note, which is a non-diatonic or an outside note. So I will not be using this to land my chord on, rather I'll be playing it only on the G over here. So we have Punjab. Here I'm getting a strong minor feel, so I've chosen E minor 7 chord with this voicing so that my this G note is the highest note. Punjab. Now that I've chosen rather my 3 chord as the first chord, I can use a 3-6-2-5 chord progression. So the 6th chord will be A minor 7, and with the G note on top we'll get this voicing of the A minor 7. Then going to the 2 chord, which is a D minor 7, but the D minor 7 doesn't have a G in it. So what I can do instead is play a higher extension of the D minor 7, which has a G note, that is a D minor 11 chord. This is a very nice voicing for the D minor 11 chord. So here I am just moving around this particular note. Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, and then Mara, and then again I land on the G note. I am not landing on the F sharp note, otherwise it will not work. That is a G7 is the C shape here I am using with the G note as the highest note. Here for this note I will be teaching you in the next steps, part 2 and part 3 of the workshop. I will be teaching you how to reharmonize this note, but for now, as we are working with only diatonic chords, I thought it best to not go into this right away. So we have a 3, 6, 2, 5 chord progression, and then for the F note, Bharat Bhagya, I have chosen the D minor 7. Going to the E note, I have chosen an F major 7 because that's what sounds great to me. And then G7 for the D note, C major 7. So Bharat Bhagya, like that. So again here, instead of the F major 7, you can play the D minor 9 chord, which we had done in section 1. So Bharat Bhagya Vidhata, but this doesn't sound as great to me as the F major 7 voicing. So now let's listen to this with the backing track. Now moving on to the next section, we have the lyrics Vindhya Himachal. So first the melody E, 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 D, D, G, G. Here I am taking the G on the higher note. D, G, G, or you can take it on second string as well. E, 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 D, D, G, G, F, F, E, 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 D, 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 B, D, C, B, D, C. So that is the melody. So now for this first, I've started with the 1 chord. So after the 1 chord, usually we have a 6. So C major 7, A minor 7, just as in section 1. Then we have D going to the G note. Or if I play the D note over here, D, G, G, I get this melody. So here I have chosen a very interesting chord, which is an F based chord, which is an F6-9 chord, which has both these notes, D and G. And this is a very creative thing. This is something that will come with experience and using this chord. But the logic is simple, that it has the D note and the G note on top, and here I've chosen the bass note with the F rather than going into the 2 chord. Yamuna Ganga. This is the F note here, where I've used this stretchy voicing of G7. Again, you can use a B minor 7 flat 5 also, but I've chosen this, and the reason I will tell you after this. Then here I'm going to the E note. Again, I can play my C major 7 as we had done before, but here I've made a choice to go into the A minor 7 because we had F that went to G. Now I can just go into an ascending order. So after F, G comes A, Uchal, E, then D note we have. So again I will keep ascending. So I will choose the B, a B chord, because F, G, A, B is my bass note. So I have to play it with this melody note. So I will choose this voicing of a B minor 7 flat 5. So we have and finally we land on the C. So we have the Vindhya Himachal, C major 7 going to A minor 7. Then from there we have an ascending chord progression starting from F, F6 9 going to the G7, Ganga, A minor 7, B minor 7 flat 5, na, 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 like that. So now let us check this out with a track. Now moving on to section 4, where we have the lyrics Tava Shobhana Mein Jage, that part. So that's again similar to section 1. C, D, E, D, E, F. Then we have E, F, G, 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 F, F, E, D, F, E. Now I'll just tell you the chords that I've chosen. We have C major 7, F note. So here I have chosen a D minor 7 going to a G7 with the F note on top. So here we have a 1, 6, 2, 5. Then we go to the E minor 7, E minor 7 going to the D minor 7. That is a 3 going to a 2. Jage. That is a 1 chord. So this is a descending chord progression. 3, 2, 1. And the melody notes are the G note, F note going to the E note here. Then we have that repeating melody. So here, instead of playing what I've played earlier, I will be creating a variation by playing a D minor 9. That is a 2 chord going to the 5 chord going to the 1. That is a 2-5-1 chord progression, and this is a very good practice to do. A lot of good composers, like especially like A.R. Rahman sir, they do it a lot in their compositions, where the same melodic section is played with different chords to give a different feel to the listener. So now let's listen to this with the backing track. Now section 5 is almost similar to section 2 that we've looked at earlier, that is Jana Gana Mangar, that part. So we have na 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 na. So this is exactly the same. So I've chosen the same chords, E minor 7, A minor 7, D minor 11, and this time I've chosen a beautiful voicing of the G7, that is a G13 chord, with the F in the bass, that is a flat 7. Then we have the B, which is the 3rd, E is the 13th, and the G, this shape. So we have it's a very lovely sound. Then we go to the next part, which is Bharat Bhagya. This is the difference from section 2. We stay on the F note. Bharat D minor 7, and then I'll play a B minor 7 flat 5, which also has this F note. G7, going to the C major 7. This is exactly the same as earlier. So now let us listen to this with the backing track. Now coming to the last section, which is the outro, we have BBC, A minor 7, which is just like the E minor 7 shape up here. Then we have B, A, B. For this I have chosen the B note, G7 chord, and then A, G, A, which is the F major 7. So we have a descending chord progression. 6 going to the 5, going to the 4. Then we have the melody C. For this I am using a C major. Jan, D, D. Then for the E I am using an A minor 7 chord, and then J, D, E, F. Now for this I have chosen an interesting chord, which is a D minor 6 chord. So the reason I have chosen this because I wanted to end on a tension chord, and I have a 1 chord, a 6 chord. So the next natural bass note is the 2. So I have chosen this voicing. This is known as a shell voicing, where I am playing only 3 notes. So this is a D note, that is a root, the 6th and the 3rd F. Just these 3 notes. You can play the 5th here as well if you want to create a proper chord voicing. But this doesn't sound too good in my opinion, so I'm just playing this voicing. So now let us listen to this with the backing track. So guys, we've come to the end of part 1 of this masterclass. Parts 2 and 3 are fully available on my website. You can check out the link in the description box below the video. Please do check it out if you have an interest in this style of learning, because I've put in a lot of time and effort, and it will really help support this channel as well. So guys, do check it out. I will also post a preview of the parts 2 and part 3 now, and here we'll be covering the higher levels of jazz harmony, which include secondary dominants, diminished chords, tritone substitution, and modal interchange as well. And I also have a section dedicated to working in a song in a minor key, which is part 3 of this workshop. So these are all available on the website.